Alright, so we back with a video. Today, we back with another video. Today, we're going to be doing the defenses. We're going to be ranking every single team in the NFL based off their defense. We're going to have them in tiers. I'll probably rank next week offenses 1 through 32, and then defenses 1 through 32. But today, just like last week, we're going to be ranking them in tiers based off how we're going to talk about it later in the video when we're doing that. But if y'all do want more videos like this, make sure to like the video. Hopefully, you like the video. Subscribe if you're new. Further ado, let's hop into it. Alright, hopping into it. We got our tiers. We got the best. That's going to be the best defense in the league. Elite is going to be the elite defense is great. Something that's just in between great or just in between elite and good, because sometimes that can be confusing. And then we have mid, something that's definitely in between elite and mid. And then we already know what mid. If you're not good, you're not trash. What are you? You're mid. And then we got trash. Let's get into it. First team, we have the Jets. Now, the Jets have actually started to put together a couple solid weeks defensively overall, but they also have some very bad weeks defensively. Now, we only gonna do 2 games because starting it out, I only really able to talk about 2 games, really, to be real. So the Jets, honestly, it's not that hard to do it. I would probably say that's a tough one, because I think overall on the season, like last week, they low-key could have won. They had all these trades. I don't think them trades was as pivotal as people acting like this season. Like, Sauce Gardner has regressed every year in the league since his second year. His first rookie year, he was one of the best corners in the league. The second year, he was probably the best corner in the league. Every year after that, he's regressed. Like, the year after that, he probably went kind of closer to a little bit worse than probably his rookie year. And then after that, he's just not been the same, in my opinion. But Quentin Williams, I think 2 years ago, he was in debates as the best defensive tackle. Last year, I don't think he had a debate or push for it. And then this year, he's been okay. So I want to see what he looks like on the Cowboys. But today, I honestly thought the Jets didn't do that bad defensively, if I'm honest. I got to be completely honest with you. So, with that being said, the Jets, another thing when it comes to the Jets, this is a thing, the margin for error the defense does have is not that big. Their offense is genuinely terrible. Week in, week out, it is just terrible. They actually did win this week against the Browns. But the Browns, that's not a great offense, and they gave up 20 points to the Browns. But they did have Browns in a good game script for how they want to play. So also, them getting 20 points, and they had bad game script for the most part the whole game for how the Browns want to play. Yeah, I'm going to probably have to say the Jets are trash. And as a Patriots fan, I know a lot of fantasy football people don't want to hear this. I've been watching Travion Henderson all year, and people have been complaining because of fantasy football, which I kind of get, I guess. But if you watch him these games, even in the game against the Buccaneers, you watch him in that game, outside of those 2 runs, he was a consistent 1 or 2 yards. Now, one thing I will give Travion Henderson, he rarely gets tackled for negative yards. That's probably the best thing about him in terms of consistency. But outside of that, the vision can be sketchy sometimes. But when it does work, it's pretty solid. And you kind of saw that kind of start to pop in that Buccaneers game. In the game against the Jets, this is a bad defense. Was able to get in the red zone situations, and he's able to get in the end zone 3 times. So I think he had a great game against the Jets. I also argue that his best run was actually in the game against the Jets, where we had a terrible play call where instead of just running to where we strong side block, we did a fake fullback dive and did like a toss to the opposite way with him one-on-one with a free edge. He makes him miss. It's another guy right behind that. He runs through him, and the O-line push him into the end zone. That was probably his best run I've actually seen him have all year. Because majority of his runs is either he just runs straight through a hole and he goes untouched for a long run, and the first time he gets touched, he probably goes down. I think today he kind of showcased a little bit of that make people miss, run through people stuff that we kind of haven't been able to see with the Patriots, to be real. And I do think his best running outside of that Buccaneers game is when he gets on the outside. Majority when he runs up the middle is really for no gains. And we finally got to see that get going. So I think the Jets just not the greatest defense. I think they actually had a solid game today defensively overall. I think it would have been a lot worse if Booty played for the Patriots because I don't know what the chemistry is between Kyle Williams and Drake, but it's just been kind of outside of one play has been kind of shaky. But Drake Maye is just a different quarterback throwing the ball down the field. You even seen him at a dot to Diggs down the field that Diggs dropped. Like Booty is, in these situations is just I don't know why, but he's just very good at doing that, and he rarely ever drops anything. So it's very interesting to see the Patriots these last 3 weeks kind of have to play without him, in the passing game just kind of doesn't look as consistent. I do think for the most part it looked as consistent as it probably could be without Booty, and I think that was kind of more so due to how bad the defense was. But Diggs had a pretty big game against the Jets. He doesn't usually like go that crazy unless he's playing the Bills. I think Drake Maye was pretty good. I think he had probably at most 3 to 4 misses. Outside of that, it's either throwaways, just not on the same page with a wide receiver, where the wide receiver may not have understood what he really should have did. And outside of that, I think Drake Maye had a pretty solid day. I don't even think he even got sacked that much today. So I would say the Jets defensively today weren't that good. But outside of that, I felt like they've had a couple solid games when I'm thinking about the Panthers, but they kind of shaky all throughout the year. You got the Broncos game. That's the game that I really don't really know how to gauge, because now you got the Jets game. Now you got the Raiders game. And then it's not looking good outside of that game for the Jets, to be honest. So I'm going to say trash. Then we have the Patriots. Patriots' first drive in football is just, you can kind of tell at this point, we at week 11, bro. They're still doing these things. So it's not really much to gauge on it. They're just going to give up points. Their first drive defensively, it doesn't matter who you are, you're getting points. Now, for whatever reason, it's really kind of funny. The one drive they really played great defense on, the first drive, they actually stopped getting stops after that. So in the Dolphins game, and that's what game I'm talking about, that first drive, they were very fantastic, and they got out to a 14-0 lead to start that game. And it really became a struggle to get stops after that unless Tua threw a pick. So, and he ended up throwing 3, I think, in that game. And that was all kind of in the second half, if I remember correctly. Or he had one of those picks early on in that drive or a game. But for the most part, the Patriots give up points. But the thing that's been really good about the Patriots is the whole game, they don't really give up that many points. Now, the Drake Maye MVP stuff, I think that needs to calm down a little bit as a Patriots fan, because the last 3 weeks, without Booty, like I said, he has not looked like the same level of player. You could say that Drake Maye is still playing good, which I do think, but the standard I hold him to, he has not really been playing to that same caliber level consistency. You have seen in that Falcons game, second half, it definitely slowed up. And then in the game against the Buccaneers, I think we left a lot of points on the board. I do think he really only had one huge mistake in that game. Early on, it was shaky. But at the end, he had that pick where it was kind of crazy. But still, he kind of just, at the end of the Falcons game, he has a big throw to end the game. End of that Buccaneers games, he had a big throw to end that game. So it's just, when it comes to Drake Maye right now, if he makes 5 mistakes, you kind of are shocked. And he's kind of done that for 3 straight games, I would say. And that's the most. He's out, bro. He had a stretch of games where he probably made at most two mistakes. Like after that Raiders game, he probably at most made 2 mistakes from after that game till that Browns game. And since that Browns game, he's kind of been a little bit shakier as Booty got injured. So I do think there is a connection there. But the thing is, why I say that is, with Drake Maye not playing to that same level these past couple weeks, we've now been able to see that what this team looks like if Drake Maye is not playing to an MVP caliber. The run game has started getting going. But one thing that I will say, you got to give a lot of credit to Vrabel, is the defense at the end of games have been clutch all season. All season. It arguably has been the most clutch defense. When they need to get a stop, they get the stop. The only game they didn't really get a stop was against the Falcons when Gonzo was hurt at the end of the game. Now, I will say this is a completely different defense if Gonzo is missing. It's kind of like if Drake Maye is not playing to the same level offensively, this is not the same level of offense. The defense, I would honestly say, Gonzo missing, it might be a bigger impact if Drake Maye is not playing that well. Now, if Drake Maye is missing, that's a completely different conversation, obviously, because, yeah, but even when he missed a little bit of time with Dobbs at one point when he was in concussion protocol, Dobbs got the job done. to keep the drive going so Drake May could come back out there. But I do think that this is not nearly the same level of defense without Gonzo. I don't know if I would say the Patriots team is elite because you can move the ball on the Patriots. I don't care who you are, you can move the ball on the Patriots. The issue against the Patriots, if you can't score touchdowns, a lot of these teams are not able to finish the job after that first drive. You can get that first drive, though. That's one thing I will say. I'm not going to go all the way and say elite. I'm going to say great. I think it's been very clutch, though, especially when they need a stop. Very, very clutch. They got kind of lucky in that Falcons game, like I said, though, because that one was kind of more so Gonzo got injured in that game. I think if Gonzo don't, like, him and Drake London was fighting all game, and then Drake London finally got him one in man coverage down the field, and Gonzo just happens to also get injured on that play. So I think that was actually, if you look at the film of them two, when they was in press man coverage, it was a very good fight, and Gonzo was winning it until that play. So, and I think Drake London really had a great game in that game, but even though pretty much every touchdown, they were pretty much scheming up plays to get Gonzo off him. And you kind of seen that today where A.D. Mitchell kind of got Gonzo if you really didn't see the play. But the play was an instant rub route that got Gonzo pretty much off of him as fast as possible in press man. A.D. Mitchell pretty much has a touchdown. But like I said, to kind of give the Jets defense some type of credit, that quarterback has just kind of not been great. And honestly, if you look at this Jets team, this is not as bad of a team as people act like. It has a lot of talent offensively. Offensive line is actually pretty solid, in my opinion. I think the A.D. Mitchell, I can see the issues. Like, he had a couple plays where he's wide open where it wasn't really Phil's fault. The ball just goes straight through his hands twice on pretty big plays that they could have got. And then you also got Mechie, who I've liked a couple from when he was coming out, but he has never really been able to get it going with the Texans. Now he's with the Jets. So I think it's pretty interesting what they got going over there. I think they just need to get a quarterback. I'm going to do a mock draft video going over these top guys, but for the most part, that's what I would say. If y'all do want more, that's what we're going to say for now. We're going to keep it going. I'm going to keep talking about these. I'm going to just leave it here for now. All right, so we back with another video. I don't know why I'm doing an intro. We're just going to keep continuing going with what we had. Now, we had a early morning game. The Commanders and the Dolphins. Let's go ahead and get it going. This was very bad. I'm going to keep it a bean. I didn't wake up to watch this game. I got to be honest. This game was so insignificant. I tried to replay some of it back. Tried not to watch too much of it, but it was as bad as I expected. You got the Commanders, which should be tanking, and the Dolphins, which I said in the prediction video, it's going to probably have a better ending to the season than what people are kind of expecting. So, honestly, I'm going to say for this one, Commanders defensively. By the way, this is a defensive tier list. Commanders been kind of all over the place this year. I'm going to say mid. And then Dolphins, honestly, have had some pretty good weeks for the past couple. Like, if you look at the Bills, I don't know if you can say good all the way, but they kind of getting it going these past couple weeks. I got to be real. It's actually kind of surprising if you're really looking at what they got over there defensively. You gotta give the Dolphins a lot of credit for what they've been doing in the past couple weeks. Now, is this week the week that we gonna really gas them for? No. But if you really look at their stuff, since the first 3 weeks, they haven't given up a 30-point game. And then since week 7, they've only given up one game of 20, and that was against Lamar and the Ravens. And if you watch that game, that was a lot closer than what the scoreline said. So, honestly, they've been kind of getting better as the season goes on. They've kind of had stages where you had the first 3 weeks where they was arguably the worst defense, and then you had the next kind of 4 weeks where they're kind of calming it down, but it's still not good. And then you have the last, 4 weeks where it's actually been pretty good. So, I'm going to say mid, right there with Commanders, because I think they've been all over the place too. But for the most part, it is getting better. You got to give them credit. They have improved defensively, and yeah. Now, what game are we going to talk about next? Whew, it was some games today, man. I can't lie. It was some games today. I think we're going to do the Bears and the Vikings. Now, Vikings and Bears, this was a rough game. I don't know how you come out of this game as a fan of either one of these quarterbacks trying to gas the performance out of either one of these guys. This was not good, again, for J.J. McCarthy. It's kind of becoming a thing that's continuous. Now, I won't lie. He kind of was getting let down with the drops today. But that last drive, he did it again. Like the Bears almost blew another game to this team. It was almost very reminiscent of week 1. They was up 16-3 in the fourth quarter. They have a turnover or something, and they pretty much get a free touchdown. And then after that, they get another stop, and they go down the field and get a touchdown. And then the Bears end the game with they have a crazy field goal, and they just run the ball. Don't even put the ball in Caleb's hands for real, and they end the game with a field goal kick. So honestly, I think the Vikings been kind of getting. They've been kind of going the other way defensively these past couple of weeks. They had a pretty good game today again. I still think to start the year they weren't that great, so I'm going to say good. I think to start the year, until that Lions game, they weren't really locked in defensively. I don't think Brian Flores was to his peak. I don't think the defense had been performing. And they had a lot of improvements, honestly. So, yeah. Then you have the Bears. The Bears actually lead the league in turnovers. I have a Bears fan, TJB. He be on some of these videos. We probably gonna get a mock draft going very soon. I just recorded a mock draft, so I don't know what's gonna come out this or the mock draft. But yeah, I'm gonna keep it a bean. The Bears, they kind of getting it going too defensively. They've been real clutch last week. I don't think they had a great week last week, honestly. Even though they only gave up 20, being honest, they gave up 20. But as soon as Dark went out the the Bears just won at that point. You know what I'm saying? And then the week before that, they played the Bengals. The Bengals put up 42. The week before that, you played the Ravens without Lamar. You gave up 30. Now, I won't lie. That Ravens game, offense did nothing. So, the Ravens' deep offense was kind of on the field all game. But at the end of the day, you got to get some stops. You do. The week before that, you played the Saints. I'm going to be honest. This Bears, like a lot of people got a lot to say about teams like the Patriots and what they beat. The Bears have actually not beat a single team that's actually like been good. So I don't know. The Bears are kind of weird in terms of but they are finishing these games very well. So you got to give them credit for that. I do think the execution in these games are still a little shaky. The play calling, play design, and scheme has been very good on both sides, in my opinion. I think the execution has been letting them down, but defense has they've been kind of shaping up, especially in the clutch. So you got to give them that. I'm gonna say the Bears are mid though. I'm gonna probably have to put them mid. They are kind of a fluctuation pretty much all year. Some good, some bad, some mid, you know. So I'm gonna put them mid. Then we have okay. I don't know if I want to. We can do the Titans and the Texans. Now, this might be one of Texans' worst games because they'll give up 13 points to the Titans. I don't really know how I feel about that as a Titans best. I'm gonna say the Texans still are all an elite defense. Personally, Titans on the other hand, I don't know how to really gauge this. Their offense has been pretty bad all year. So that's a tough ask of a defense, in my opinion. But the past couple of weeks, people have been able to put points on them. I don't think this is necessarily a bad defense because you got to think about this offense is literally 3-and-out central. They don't do anything. They don't score points. They don't move the ball consistently. They don't have sustained drives. This is a bad offense, and they get turnovers. So you got to think about it from that lens for the defense perspective. They genuinely don't do that much, and this defensive line has actually been pretty good all year. Like, they've been pretty good. So I'm going to honestly say the Titans have been pretty. I want to say they're good because of the margin for error, but I'm going to have to put them mid. I'm going to put them top of mid. I think their margin for error has been pretty bad. And then next, who else do we got? Oh, let's talk about it. Panthers and the Falcons. Now, this was another interesting game. Falcons end up losing another game, very interestingly. Now, I heard apparently they got cheated twice in overtime, back-to-back weeks. That's tough. They could have went to overtime 3 straight weeks if their man probably make an extra point in that Patriots game. But neither here nor there. We don't know what happens at that end of that game at that point. If they would have tied it, maybe the Patriots play it different. I don't know. But back-to-back losses. They stacking up some pretty bad losses because they was up 21-7, but it was really 21-10. And then coming out of the second half, the Panthers answered pretty real. And then Penix gets hurt, and that game kind of just goes to nothing for them. So, and apparently Drake London got hurt in this game too. So I tried to figure out what happened with him. Couldn't find it. So not looking great for you. Defensively, I think y'all been pretty, the past couple of weeks though, I still think the Falcons been pretty good. I think they did a solid job against the Colts, to be honest. In all actuality, when you look at the Colts, they was actually getting pretty consistent stops on them. It just, they couldn't stop Jonathan Taylor. At the end of the day, they just couldn't stop him. And he's, a lot of people pushing this MVP stuff, and he was ridiculous against them. But that was one of Daniel Jones' worst games of the year. And then, like I said, margin for error. The coaches had too much of a margin for error. Once in the second half, they started blitzing Penix. They couldn't move the ball. You kind of seen something similar in this game at points, but he gets injured. So then you see what it looks like without Penix. It's not good. So Very, very questionable what's going on with the Falcons. I'm going to say good for them still because they've been pretty good for the most part this year. When it comes to the Panthers have actually been pretty good. And the thing with the Panthers, they don't really allow people to score points at all. Like, and this is what I was saying in that team tier list. This is a team that can beat any team but also lose any team. They gave up 40 points to Buffalo. They gave up 42 points to New England. But look at the games around it. 0 points to Falcons first time they played it. You got 6 points to the Jets. You got 13 points to the Packers. Now, I'm going to be honest. That Packers 13 points not looking as crazy anymore. I'm going to keep it being. That win against the Cowboys, I would say is more so. I mean, offense got the job done, but defense had a great game that game as well. I think defense in the second half in this Falcons game was really good as well. So I would honestly say they actually have a good defense. I would say the defense has done a lot of the heavy lifting this year for the Panthers more so than offense. Cause I think it's really been more so the run game and the defense. But this game, I wouldn't give the credit to the defense. Bryce Young had his best game of the year. At this point, it's not even negotiable. He hates the Falcons. If he's playing the Falcons, he's gonna have his best game of the year. The brother went out there and had 400 yards. This was a game, another one of them games that's gonna tie me back into the Bryce Young stuff because you can see the ability. He even got hurt in this game and had to lead the game, by the way, and he came back. And he did this. So, got to give him his credit. But, yeah, defensively, I think they're good. Browns, I still think are elite. Now, we're going to talk about the Ravens, too, with them. This is getting out of order now. I'm not going to lie. Actually, we're going to do it later. What's another game that happened early on? I think, this is another very important one. We can do this. Jacksonville Jaguars and the Chargers. Whew. Man, Chargers, I got to be honest, man. This was bad offensively. At this point, even with all the injuries that the Jaguars have, this was bad. This is probably Herbert's worst game of the season. I know that injuries going on with the offensive line, but this was easily probably his worst game of the season. And, yeah, bro, this was bad, man. Like, this was very, very bad. I'm going to have to say, but defensively, I don't think it was as bad. I think the passing game defensively wasn't that bad. They just couldn't stop the run. And that's the one thing that's kind of questionable right now because they got all these injuries to these tackles. They're losing in the trenches on both sides of the ball now. So, and losing in the trenches to this team is kind of crazy. So, it is weird. It is kind of weird thinking about it like that. But this was the first bad game they've had really since the Colts, and the Colts have been really good offensively. I think Cohen is a very special offensive mind. I think defensively, for the most part this year, they've been great. I would say defensively, for the most part, they've been great. If you watch these games, they've gone out there and had really good scheme, good play calling. I don't really get the trade of the Gilman trade, to be honest, but for the most part, they've been pretty good. So I'm gonna put them great. Then you had the Jaguars. Jaguars had a very good game this week. Jaguars, like I said, they just have the Chargers number. When you think about that playoff game, a lot of people like to talk about that 27-0, but even in that game, the Jaguars defense was not the issue in the first half. It was Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence had like 4 or 5 picks in the first half. As soon as he stopped turning the ball over, the Chargers couldn't score. A lot of the drive that they were scoring off of was off of turnovers. They were just taking advantage of turnovers. As soon as they stopped turning the ball over, they couldn't move the ball. And that was the difference in the game. So, I think that this was a showcase of one of those that I don't know if the Chargers play the Houston Texans soon, but that may be a rough game too. So, they need guys to get healthy over there with the Chargers, but apparently Alder's out for the season. I know Slater's out for the season. Hampton, can he come back for them? It's a lot of interesting stuff. I do think they still got 4 real weapons, but they couldn't do nothing in the passing game today. It just wasn't good, man. If you don't have time to throw, it's gonna be bad. But also, I think the Jaguars just been a lot. They've been very underrated defensively this year, in my opinion. I think last week you had a little bit of a blunder. The last 2 weeks, really, since they came off that bye, they had a little bit of a blunder. I think that Rams game wasn't as bad as people act like, because the Rams arguably are the best offense in the league. Now, I don't think they was able to showcase that well today, but we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about it. Don't worry. We're going to talk about it. But Jaguars, for the most part this year, I would say it's been good. I would say they've been good. I'll put them right there with the Panthers, personally. Then we have the Steelers. Now, Steelers, this is a tough one to kind of gauge, in my opinion, because when it comes to the Steelers, you have this week where you give up only 12 points to the Bengals, who have been putting up points on pretty much everybody, you know. Then you have the week before that where you got the Chargers, where you're playing against the Chargers. 23 points to the Chargers isn't bad, but your offense did nothing in that game, so it's kind of hard to really blame too much on the Steelers. And then the week before that, that's one of the best defensive performances we've seen all year until what we've seen today. But yeah, 20 points against the Chargers. That might be the best defensive performance of the season, to be honest, even with what we've seen today. Keeping it being like 3 picks, 3 forced fumbles, 2 fumbles, and 5 sacks, and only give up 20 points. They had a magnificent game that game. And the thing with the Steelers, they want to turn people over, and they want to win the turnover battle. So I'm gonna say the Steelers have actually been I don't know if I can say great. The thing with the Patriots that's been really special with them, if you score 30, you're probably gonna beat them, except for the first 4 games. And I think that was a little bit of rush. But since those first 4 games, you don't score 30, you're not beating them. Now, they've only really played a couple teams that can score 30 on them, and they didn't allow it. And I do think these last 3 games have been more of a defensive game or showcase than offensive. And that's been really impressive to me as a Patriots fan. So that is kind of why they're up there. And I'm going to say the Steelers is a tough one. I'm going to say great. I think they've been putting these last 3 weeks probably are good enough to get them up there to great to me, personally. They were starting to look shaky at that week 7, week 8, you know what I'm saying, area. But I think they've turned the corner again and got back to great, in my opinion. Probably put them over the Chargers. Then we have the Raiders haven't played yet. They play the Cowboys. Colts have a bye. I'll probably rank them tomorrow. Who else do we have from the early morning? Did the Saints play today? I don't think they did. So I think they have a bye. Who else played in this interval? 49ers didn't play. Cardinals, 49ers didn't play. Okay, the Giants played the Packers. Let me make sure I'm getting this right. These 2 played. These finna play tonight. Eagles and the Lions. We gotta wait for that one. That's gonna be a big game. They played the Broncos. Oh! The Bills played the Buccaneers. Now, that's a big one as well. We're going to do that one last, I guess, for the early games, I guess. All right, so we're going to do that one last. Okay, so we got the Giants and the Packers. I think the Giants actually played pretty good defense in this game. Packers, honestly, offensively, just not been that impressive the past couple of weeks. Really, since maybe that Steelers game, they haven't been that impressive, in my opinion. So I don't know how much to really gas them for this performance, especially when you think about the fact that Love got hurt early in this game. Jacobs got hurt early in this game. No Dart, though. Jameis Winston looked a lot better than what Russ had given him the last couple times he got out there. So I don't know what to say about that. I do think the Packers defense is good. I probably would still say the Packers defense is elite. But that Giants defense, I feel like they are good until the 4th quarter. And it's like this every single game. I think at the second half, they kind of let it get away from them. If they would have kept that first half momentum, they probably could have won this game with Jameis Winston playing the way he played. But they couldn't keep it going. I'm going to low-key say the Giants is probably good. I'm probably going to say it's good. That pass rush, but behind that pass rush is really the issue. Then we have the Buccaneers and the Bills. I think the injuries with the Buccaneers are kind of catching up to them because that Patriots game, they was getting breakaway runs on them kind of consistently with Hendo. And Hendo, if he's not getting those breakaway runs, it's kind of been shaky for him all year. But these last 2 games was really the first 2 games. I mean, there was a game where we started benching players because they was fumbling too much. I think that was the Steelers game. But outside of that, he really didn't have the chances that he's had the last 2 weeks. So I don't know. I don't want to gauge that too harshly. But I do think second half in that Patriots game, they actually had a really good game plan. First half, you could probably say that about this Bills game. But second half, Josh Allen did whatever. I mean, whatever he wanted. So, yeah. And the last 2 games, they've allowed 400 yards. You could even say that the Patriots probably moving the ball more consistently. They had to settle for field goals a couple times. And you got that Drake Maye interception in the end zone. That could have been a lot worse, to be honest. But you got to give them credit for not allowing it to be that much worse, I guess you could say. But then you got the Saints. Detroit is probably one of their better performances of the season. But all in all, they haven't had that great of performances. I would probably say the Buccaneers is, I want to lean good, but some of these performances are actually pretty bad. I'm going to actually have to go mid. I'm going to go mid on them. Then you got the Bills. The Bills have actually had some pretty good performances this year, though. You got the game against the Chiefs. That was one of the best performances defensively we've seen all year from anybody. The last 2 weeks have been pretty rough. That's a tough one. Bills is, because you can run on the Bills. You can run on the Bills, man. You can definitely run on them. I feel like their pass defense is good, but their run defense is really struggling. So, I think their pass defense may be elite, but their run defense is mid to trash. So I'm gonna put them good, but I'm gonna put them like there. It can be better than what it is. So yeah. And then we got the 3 o'clock games. Now these games were, bro. Now by the way, this was the first time I got to really be able to watch Red Zone the whole day. And man, bro, these games were rough today. I'm not gonna lie. Let's talk about it. Ravens Browns. Now this game was kind of weird because they was chanting for Shador the whole game, and I thought Gabriel was actually playing pretty solid, and he had them with the win with the defense way they was playing. And then as soon as Shador went out there, they couldn't even move the ball into the last time. Now, I do think the Browns defense probably was playing better, but I think the field position battle, they started losing the field position battle so badly, and I do think they did down them at the 1 there, and that was a pretty bad call by the ref, I will say. Now, the last drive by Shador, that was some good throws. I do think he missed one, bro, in the end zone that one play, but the play after that, he followed that up with a perfect ball, and bro just dropped it. So, yeah, and then the last play was an offside that he had nobody open. And yeah, now this is one of those games I'm kind of like, bro, I said this multiple times. I don't really get why the Shador fans want him to play. I would be begging for a trade because this Browns offense has a bad O-line. Judkins has been the only bright spot on the team. And the issue with Judkins being the only bright spot of the team, this team is always in bad game script for a running back. So you have bad wide receivers. Your tight end probably is your strongest position group. I don't really get it. Defensively, you have a good margin for error. That's what you can say as the offense, but the offense don't have anything going for them. So no matter if you're talking about Dylan Gabriel or Shador, it's a bad situation. It's a bad situation. So I don't know. They got 2 first rounds coming up, so you can get a wide receiver and a quarterback. Maybe if you think you saw enough out of Shador today, you can keep him. Maybe just go with offense in that first round. Whatever you go with, it's up to you. I think the Browns have still been elite defensively. I think they had a great game. I think bro, Myles Garrett has 9 sacks in 2 games when you put this game with the Pats game, and he lost both. I think the Pats game, honestly, if you watch that game, he didn't really have much of an impact in that game. Like, the Patriots was moving the ball consistently on them that whole game. Now, one thing I will say, the one play that Myles Garrett was out the game, they had like a 50 or 40-yard touchdown to booty in double coverage, and he was open in the end zone. So they took advantage of him being out to play one game, and that really kind of hurt them. But at the time, they had the number 1 pass defense. Today, they did a really good job on Lamar. Lamar didn't have a good game this week, but it didn't matter. They won the game. They ended up winning on a fake tush-push outside run, to be honest, which is kind of, I'm going to be honest, that's really unstoppable. But, yeah, I'm going to have to say Browns elite. And then the Ravens, sneaky, defensively, have improved, which is not surprising. They did something similar last year. You kind of, if you're a Ravens fan, wish they did this the whole season. Maybe y'all don't have this record, which is fair, which is completely fair. But end of the day, I don't even see the Ravens. End of the day, the Ravens have been improving lately. They were trash though, so improvement don't really take you too far. I would probably say just right there with the Dolphins, where they've been improving. I would still say they're mid, but right now they playing like a good defense. They're playing like a good defense. I won't lie. So, yeah, they're definitely playing like a good defense. It's just, you look at the score since like week 5. Week 5 they gave up 44. The most point they allowed all year was to the Texans. Now Lamar didn't play in that game, so the margin for error for the defense is even worse. But look at the first 5 games, bro. 41. Then you play the Browns. 38, 37, 44. Now since then they've been good defensively, but this is a tale of 2 different halves. Like, you've been good to great the last 5 games. The first 5 games you were trash. So it got to even out. I'm going to give y'all mid. Then we have the Cardinals. Unfortunately for Gannon, he probably going to end up getting fired. Like, this is the epitome of what I'm saying when I'm talking about margin for errors. You cannot tell me Jacoby Brissett played worse than Sam Darnold today. Sam Darnold literally could have won the game today still, regardless of how bad he played in this game. But Brissett, on the other hand, got demolished in this game. He even broke the completion record or something like that. So I don't think he played crazy or nothing, but Darnold was bad today. Like, he literally threw the game away, and it didn't matter. So I'm going to say Cardinals defensively, they kind of let them down today. I think the Cardinals defense on the season, though, if I'm honest, has actually been good. It's just today they were pretty rough. Really the last week too against Seattle, but Seattle's been really good offensively. Outside of really 3 games though, 49 this week you had the Seahawks, and then you had the Colts. They haven't really been bad at all. So honestly, I'm gonna still say good for the Cardinals. They just had the last 2 weeks kind of getting away from them, but I think they're starting to just tank. Hopefully they keep Gannon, because I think Gannon is a good coach. But if he does leave, it's gonna be a good coordinator out there for somebody to get. So I'm gonna put them up there and good. Next, we got the 49ers. Now, 49ers, despite the injuries, despite whatever goes on with them, they just seem at this point to get the job done. You got to give them credit for what they do week in, week out, offense and defense. They're starting to get healthier offensively. If they can get Ayuk back, that is a sneaky team in the league right now. Now, last week, they kind of, I think Rams kind of just got their get back for week 5. Rams, arguably, like I said, is the best offense in the league. It's just what it is. But last week, you kind of saw how good that team can be. But then you have this week against Arizona. You have the Giants with Dart. You have the Houston Texans with Stroud. I believe that was with Stroud. Stroud had started getting it going since like that Titans game early in the year. He had started getting it going. So Stroud was looking good for a couple weeks. And then he got injured in that Broncos game. You had 10 against the Falcons, who was a good offense in my opinion. You had the Buccaneers, which kind of got away from you. But that was MVP Baker at the time. Healthier Buccaneers team as well. So I think defensively they've actually been pretty great. I would put them great. I think the injuries have kind of held them back, but the play calling scheme on both sides has been fantastic. The execution has been very good. They just don't really have the talent with the injuries that they have. So it's going to be hard for them to keep this up. But yeah, I still got them great. Broncos, man. You're missing what people deem as the best corner in football, the defensive player of the year last year. I didn't have him winning that, but he did win it all in all. He's missing against arguably the best passing team in the league, and you lock them up. They couldn't do nothing on y'all. They literally couldn't do nothing. This was almost a better lockup than what the Bills really locked them up. They only got that touchdown at the end when it was like the game was over. So I would honestly say, bro, if I'm honest, I think the Broncos had a fantastic game defensively. Offensively is really the issue. That's where it kind of gets questionable. But defensively, clearly elite. I would put them here. I would put the Browns over the Packers too. I do think the Packers is kind of getting slept on, but I think them DBs is a huge issue for the Packers. I think the issue with the Browns is really just their offense. Broncos is similar, but I think they have a little bit more to go. And I think Van Joseph has done a great job with them. So I would say, yeah, elite. And then we have the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs defense is still very good. I just think that you can pass on the Chiefs. I think you can pass on the Chiefs right now. Like, you can beat them deep right now. Spags is a guy that loves to get pressure. And without the DBs, like, he's been masking this for a couple years now. Without the DBs, you can kind of see how losing these DBs year in, year out is kind of starting to hurt them. Where you lose Snead, you lose Thornhill, you lose all these safeties, even Reed, Tyrann Mathieu. You're seeing how these losses are now starting to stack up this year. You can actually throw on them. You still can't really run on them that consistently. I would say I still think they're one of the better run defenses, but pass defense, I still think it's one of the better pass defenses. But in terms of coverage, back end, it's just not great right now. So I don't know if I can put them any higher than great, but I do think they've been very, very good. I can see the argument for elite. I can definitely see the argument for the elite if you want to say the Chiefs are elite, but you can definitely pass on them. I'm gonna actually still put them elite because they got some pretty crazy games this year. When you think about that Ravens game, what they did to Lamar in that game was crazy. What they did to Lamar in that game, that was crazy. Lions, that was a great defensive performance. Even the Philly game was a great defensive performance. Buffalo is a head scratcher because Josh Allen was fantastic in that game. But for the most part, I'm gonna actually put them at the back end of elite. Now they don't have their margin for error is actually pretty high too with their offense. So you could say they probably should only go great, but I'm gonna go elite. I think they are a tier above all these teams. Maybe they're not in the same tier as these 4, but I think they're a tier above all these teams, obviously. Okay, Bengals. Who did the Bengals play? I was supposed to Ben rank the Bengals. Oh, the Steelers. Okay, so the Bengals and Steelers play. I don't know how I rank the Steelers, but not the Bengals. But the Bengals, don't think we need to discuss them too much. They're trash. Trash. It's just simple as that. Then we have the Rams and this is the last game that we're going to rank until we get into like the games that we got left and then the bye weeks. Rams and the Seahawks. This was the game of the week, man. If not the Eagles and the Lions, that's another big game. It was a couple big games. The Chiefs and the Broncos. You know, it was a couple big games today. The Buccaneers and Bills, it was a couple big games. But Rams and Seahawks, this was the game. You could argue these are the two of the best teams in the league right now. And I'm going to be honest, Rams defense, you can say what you want about them. They played good, but I would be honest, Sam Darnold was just making some bad decisions today. It was bad. And I said this last week, they were blowing out the Cardinals, and he just started doing dumb stuff for no reason. Like, it was literally no reason to do some of the stuff he was doing. So I don't know what's going on with bro. But this is kind of what gotta scare you if you are a Seahawks fan. Your quarterback is Sam Darnold. Like, it's a reason why, you know what I'm saying, he's going around the league. Because it was years he just wasn't good at all. Last year, he was very good with the quarterback whisperer. He's been fantastic this season. But the last 2 weeks, he's been shaky. And today, you saw it. Like, he pretty much lost because of him. You pretty much literally lost this game because of him. Now, you probably still win this game if early on in this game, instead of getting all them field goals, you score a touchdown. Because the difference in this game was a field goal. And you lose on a 61-yard field goal. I don't blame the kicker for that at all. The defense played fantastic. But I also got to say, I don't think the Rams played that good a defense today with all them turnovers. For the most part, the Seahawks was moving the ball consistently on them. The only way they really got stops today was turnovers. That was really the only way they got stopped. It wasn't like they was getting consistent pressure. They really weren't, which was a surprise to me, to be honest. They weren't able to really consistently stop the run either. So I don't think this was a great performance from the Rams. I think it was really just Sam Darnold was that bad. And then if you look at the Rams offense, it wasn't that good either. Outside of Kyron, nobody really had that good of a game. Puka had a fumble. Tay had a couple drops. Stafford had a couple outside of Kyron, Stafford actually wasn't that bad, I would say. I think he had a couple misses, but this defense is very good. They get pressure. I think that's one of the biggest issues with Darnold and Stafford. They get a lot of pressure. But the thing with Darnold, I expected him to have one of his worst games this year because I thought Rams was going to get a lot of pressure. He struggles with pressure. They didn't even really get that much pressure today. Like, so I don't know. I'm going to say Rams, though. I think Rams is still one of the better defenses this year, but I don't think the Rams been that crazy this year. Maybe I'm actually going to lower the Chiefs. I'm going to say the Chargers being good with some of them teams is kind of crazy. Yeah, I'm going to say the Rams is great. I'm going to say they're right there behind the Chiefs, above the Patriots. For sure better than the Patriots. They got better passers. But behind that, they played good today. But yeah, it's kind of tough. Now, Seahawks on the other hand, generational performance. Bro, the margin for error this defense had today against that offense, by the way, that offense, they couldn't, bro, they were turning the ball over left and right. And they just, the Rams they couldn't even move the ball at times, bro. So, outside of a couple, like, it really was 2 runs by Kyron, by the way. Outside of those 2 runs, Kyron didn't do much. So, I would say, bro, the Seahawks was fantastic defensively in this game. I really don't know what you could really expect out of a team that has 4 picks going against this level of production on offense. You got arguably the MVP of the league in Stafford, Davante Adams, Puka Nacua, and Kyron with that O-line. It's really got to give a lot of credit to the Seahawks defense for what they did. I think that might have been enough to push them to elite for me defensively, like the best team defensively in the league. I don't think we're going to have anybody else that's going to surpass them that we're going to talk about. I think that might have gave them. They were elite for sure, but that might have put them in the best combo for me. I think I've been saying all year the Texans got it, but Seahawks, they've been doing it. They've been very consistent defensively, and I think they had another very good week. And I think, honestly, I would still say the Seahawks got the best team in the league after today because how many times is a quarterback going to have 4 interceptions? How many times that going to happen? So, I'm going to be honest. That's a tough team to beat right there. If it takes 4 picks to beat them right now, with the form they in, JSN again was very good. So, we'll see, bro. We'll see. I still got them high. We got to talk about more teams. We're going to talk about the Lions and Eagles. The game is getting ready to start right now. Trying to get this done as fast as possible. But, yeah, let's get out of here. All right. Final game of the day. Pretty much over. Lions just went off the field with 10 minutes left. Maybe they come back. After I make this little part, I'll, you know what I'm saying, get back to watching it. But, yeah. Man, this game was rough. Some of these games that they've been rough. Now, I'll be honest, at points of this, you could tell the weather was definitely impacting this quarterback play in this game, but the quarterback play in this game was absurd. questionable play calls here and there for both sides. I feel like the Lions were moving the ball pretty consistently, but I don't know what defense played better. Like, I really don't. Like, I feel like the Eagles on third down were fantastic. Fourth down, they were fantastic. A lot of them plays, though, I do feel like was Jared Goff. But there was a lot of plays where the defenders, the corners, the DBs was making huge plays. But also, when it comes to that, they got a lot of stops on fourth down. And I'm going to be honest, the more times you go for it on fourth down, the more opportunities your offense is getting to make plays. But also, defensively, that's more times you have to get stops. So I don't know how to really gauge that, because there was a lot of points left on the board by the Lions, and that put the Lions defense at a huge disadvantage in a lot of those situations. But like I said in a different video a couple back, a lot of people are going to start going for it on these fourth downs in certain areas, because this kickoff rule is awful. So a lot of the time, you pretty much guaranteed almost have one first down, you damn near in field goal position. Now, the win was actually a huge factor in this game. I feel like the celebration kind of trolled 1 point off the board. They couldn't kick really good field goals if you was the Lions. I don't think they had belief in kicking field goals in this weather, which is weird to me, because I'm thinking of a Lions team. They have a dome now. I don't really get stuff like that. Like, if the Patriots ever get a dome, I would never understand that. Like, the Bills ever get a dome, I would never understand that. Like, why is these up north teams getting domes? That makes no sense. Brother, that is your entire home field advantage. A team like the Miami Dolphins, their fan base understands that Tua struggles playing in the cold. So why, if I'm a team in the north, would I allow a player that struggles in the cold to come play it in my arena? Like, we're gonna make it easier for them? That makes no sense. That is literally part of your home field advantage. That fact that you're used to playing in that. These guys have to come play in this. That just doesn't really make sense to me. So honestly, I think Hurts was better than Goff, but neither was really that good. One thing I will say, I think Dan Campbell actually had some pretty good play calling. It's just the situational was kind of off. Sometimes he was going for a fourth down, like the punt. Go for it with the first unit out there was kind of crazy. But there were some other plays, I get it. It's just the execution was off. But after a couple of them times, bro, you got to realize we got to calm down. You got to play the field position better at a certain point. Because that was kind of the difference in the game. And the Eagles was making a field goal. So you got to give credit to Jake Elliott, kind of like what I'm saying. When teams is not used to playing in weather, like where it's high wind, maybe it's too cold, maybe it's snowing, maybe it's raining, it's a big advantage when you have a team that's more used to that, especially if it's a home game. So I don't know, honestly, going through how to really gauge this game on either side offensively, but defensively, I don't know who really outplayed who. Because like I said, I feel like the Eagles defense had to get more stops, but also I think the Lions offense was more of a threat in this game. The Eagles offense ain't really do nothing for the most part. I think A.J. Brown was really good. He caught everything. Davante had a couple drops. Hurts missed a couple throws. But like I said, weather, I think, had a pretty big impact on both quarterbacks. But both quarterbacks, either way, was not that great. By the way, the announcer, bro, he just kept spamming. If Jalen Hurts runs, I'm not going to lie. It kind of felt racist at a certain point. I'm not going to cap. I'm trolling, but I'm not serious when I'm saying that. But I'm going to be honest. He kept saying that was a big impact on their offense last year. I don't really recall that. Now, I've been making excuses for Saquon for a while now, talking about people are stacking the box. Today, he's playing 7 in the box pretty much every time. They pretty much never was bringing down the safeties. I honestly didn't really understand that because neither team could really throw the ball deep. The only team that really got anything going deep at any point in the game was really the Lions on that one drive when they finally got the touchdown. And they were just hitting people over the top. Not over the top, but across the middle, kind of behind, you know what I'm saying, behind the coverage and stuff like that. And it was really man. So I don't really know how to really gauge this game too much because depending on where this is played, I think it would go a little bit different for both teams. Like, I think if this is played in a more neutral setting, maybe a dome, maybe the Eagles still win, but it's a more high-scoring game. This was a defensive game. And it really, at some points, it didn't even feel like the defense was even an issue there. It was seemed like some points, it was literally just the quarterback play was that bad. So, I don't know. I wanted to talk about Saquon. Saquon, if you watched Saquon last year, Saquon was my MVP. And I know a lot of people like to compare JT to what he's doing. I thought Saquon was the MVP because last year, early in the year, the Eagles' defense was rocky. As soon as Quinyon Mitchell started getting more consistent snaps, the defense got drastically better from that moment. So I think that was a defensive team that could run the ball, and it was dominant running the ball. But I don't really, maybe I'm tripping. I don't really remember Hurts running too much. And honestly, looking at how many injuries we've seen from quarterbacks this year, I don't know. I kind of get them not wanting to run too much, to be honest, because Hurts had a run when he was out of bounds, and that wasn't a late hit. I get the low hit, but if you out the pocket, come on, bro. At that point, you a player, bro. You gotta be able to. We gotta treat you like everybody else. As long as it's not helmet to helmet, as long as it's not dirty. And Hurts is a big guy. It's kind of like Henry running at you. You kind of gotta go low. Like, it's just what it is. So I can understand if I was an Eagles fan, I'd be kind of mad about that. But that's kind of the thing about these quarterbacks being able to run. They're going to be more likely to get hit, and it's going to be more susceptible to like injuries. And that's one thing you got to give Hurts. He don't really get injured. Maybe he get injured at the end of the season when the season over. Maybe he can get some rest and stuff like that. But for the most part, Hurts will be pretty healthy throughout the season. So I don't know. Honestly, defensively, I think that both teams deserve to go elite based off this week. I probably would say the Lions are more so great, and I'll put them here. But the Lions have a couple big time games this year defensively. I'm gonna actually just put the Lions and the Chiefs up there. I think that's what it is, and I think the Eagles have just been better than the Packers defensively. I think they've genuinely been elite. Quinyon Mitchell, I said this last year, I thought he was the top 4. I thought McDuffie, Gonzo, and Surtain was the top 3. No debate. I thought Quinyon was the 4th. I know a lot of people wanted to say all these other guys. I think Denzel Ward was in that combo too. A lot of people were saying Stingley. I didn't really personally agree with that. I think Quinyon this year is showcasing how good he is. I think you could argue he's even better this year than he was last year. He's getting a full year in his belt. He's getting the respect from the refs. They're letting him play. I'm gonna say it, bro. I think Quinyon, I'm a big Gonzo fan, but Quinyon, no matter who he going against, what team it is, the quarterback, wide receiver, he been balling all year, man. So you gotta give him credit. Eagles again, this was the 2 most talented teams in the league, and it came down to the quarterbacks at the end of the day. It just wasn't good. But I also, like I said, I think the weather had a big thing on it. But it just came out to be a defensive game, and when you're two of the most talented teams in the league, you showcase it. Now, by the way, Phillips is looking like a great pickup for the Eagles these past 2 weeks. He was huge in the Packers game. This game, I'm gonna be honest, it's like the 4th game out of Penei Sewell where he ain't looked like best tackle in the world material. Lane Johnson also got hurt in this game, and for the most part, Hurts still had all day to throw. For the most part in this game, Goff pretty much had all day to throw. It was just a couple plays here and there that, you know what I'm saying, they finally got pressure. But I don't know, man. These are 2 almost insanely easy situations to be quarterback in. I know the weather, but it was crazy watching this game, man. It was so many just missed throws. Man, I don't know what to say about this quarterback situation. It was rough, man. I really had higher expectations out of these 2 games, to be honest. Like, I really wish I put more time into watching that Chiefs Broncos game, because that seemed like an actual more entertaining defensive game than any of these 3. I feel like the Rams game just wasn't. I feel like the Seahawks was great, but the Rams, they kind of was getting bailed out by Sam Darnold just being kind of bad, in my opinion. And then tonight, it was just a lot missed throw after missed throw. Like I said, I think Quinyon had a couple big plays, but outside of that, majority of the game was kind of missed throws. Now, what I did want to say, Saquon, in my opinion, don't look the same as last year, but just look at Gibbs. He had a really rough start to the game in that first quarter. They started getting him the ball in space, and he was way better in the second half than he was in the first. So I'm going to be honest, I don't really understand why the Eagles don't do stuff like that. Now, I will say there's a lot of things that the Lions do drastically better than the Eagles, regardless of the talent. Like, I won't lie, the Lions team is just nowhere near the same level of team when they're not playing action, passing the ball. I'm going to keep it being. They're just not. But the intermediate routes, the deep routes, all that is schemed and designed much better than the Eagles. And getting your guys the ball in space they do that at a higher consistency. I get it, Saquon getting dump downs in the passing game, but they literally, I don't know, I felt like they didn't run any screens at all for Saquon. Get him like going at all, like, I don't know. But even when Saquon, like I said, today was a little bit odd one, because it was a couple times he was in the hole and he going down to the first person there every single time. That's not the Saquon I know at all. So gotta keep it a buck. I be tough on some of these guys. I like Saquon a lot, so I gotta be tough on him. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's what I'll say about the games tonight. It was a pretty rough game, man. Like I said, I think the weather had an impact on it, but the quarterbacks got to be better. Like it came to a point where you can see when the wind affected it and when the wind didn't, and it was just a bad throw. So I don't know. Like I said, it's really rough to see this out of a lot of the quarterbacks today. But we'll see. We're gonna keep it going. The only person I think had a bad game that the defense genuinely impacted him was Mahomes. I think that Broncos defense deserve a lot of love for what they did. Stafford didn't really have a bad game in my opinion. I think Tay had some drops. Pook had a fumble. Outside of 2 runs, Kyron. But I think overall, the Seahawks just played great defense. I don't think Stafford had a real bad game. I think it just really wasn't a game for him to be going off. This was never going to be that type of game against this defense. When it came to the Chiefs, that run game actually wasn't even that bad as I expected him to be today. And Mahomes just didn't have a great game. He had a pretty big time throw to Thornton, but it's Mahomes at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, this is my tier list so far. We got one more game, and then we're going to do the bye weeks. But, yeah. All right, finishing out this video. I genuinely thought I did this already, but we got to finish out the video. We got the Raiders, we got the Cowboys, we got the Colts, we got the Saints. We're ranking teams based off their defenses. Are any of these teams going to end up being the best? Are any of these teams going to end up being the elite? Let's see. Raiders, in my opinion, defensively have not been that bad this year. They've been inconsistent, but I think the offense inconsistencies have been much more on that side. And I think the offense has been inconsistently bad leaning, and the defense has been inconsistently good leaning. So I'm going to be real. I think that they're probably mid. They're probably on the higher tier of mid, but I would probably have to say the Raiders are around here, personally. Putting them in the same tier as the Ravens, it's not that crazy right now because of the fact the Ravens have been a lot better lately, but that's where we're going to go. Now, on the flip side, let me make sure it actually is recording because I'm not trying to have to keep doing this. The Cowboys. Now, the Cowboys just made pretty big moves, in my opinion, at the deadline. A lot of people talked about it, but don't really know if this is the game to really showcase if this is going to work or not, to be honest. For the most part of the season, it has been trash. The Dolphins and Ravens have shown a little bit more consistency and a little bit more, I would say, advancement. I think the Cowboys defense have shown a couple different flashes. The Jets, the Raiders. Those are the 2 games I was looking at. And I'm going to be honest, the Raiders offense, like I said, have been inconsistently bad offensively. Brock Bowers coming back should help it, but it has been inconsistently bad. The O-line has been awful. I'm actually starting to say that this might be genuinely the worst offensive line in football. And then when it comes to the Cowboys, they got their guy, defensive tackle. I won't lie, everything looked a lot better right now. I've said for time, though, for the whole season, running on the inside of the Cowboys is probably the strength of their defense. Outside of that, I like a linebacker they got. I now like Quentin Williams. Ezekaraku has been kind of getting a little bit better. I think he got injured in this game. Cowboys are interesting. The Cowboys are interesting. It's kind of funny. This is the way I kind of look at it. A lot of Eagles fans want to say that Jalen Hurts is a top 5 quarterback, but you could genuinely say if you're a Cowboys fan that Dak is playing like a top 5 guy right now. And if you're an Eagles fan, the only debate you really have for Hurts over Dak, they both have really 2 good wide receivers. They both have good O-lines. They both have a solid running game. The difference is really the defense. Like you can say the winning part, but the only reason why one team is winning more than the other is genuinely the defense. So, I'm just saying. But I would say the Cowboys are trash. You know what I'm saying? Long story short, I would still say their defense is trash. One game is not changing everything, but I do think there is potential in this one game more than the Jets game. Like the Jets game, that was Fields. You know what I'm saying? This is Geno, who's been really bad all year for the most part. Brock Bowers is back for their 3rd game. Genty has been shaky all year because of the O-line. So, it's kind of tough to really gauge that Cowboys game too much. I want to see them against a team like what we're going to see this week, the Eagles. So that's going to be a very interesting one. If the Eagles, let's see if the Eagles, because the Eagles offense also been having their own little issues a couple weeks in a row. Like when you think about that Lions game, you think about that Packers game. Maybe the Eagles can get it going on a bad Cowboys defense, or maybe the Cowboys defense can have a statement game against an Eagles team that has been underperforming all season offensively. So we'll see. Next we got the Colts and the Saints, the two teams on bye week. Colts are very, very, very interesting because this is another team that made some pretty big moves at the deadline. I think that they went a little overboard. I think if I had to gauge the two moves, Quinnen Williams has been better than Sauce Gardner for almost, I want to say 3 years, but I'm going to say two. Last year, he wasn't as good as the year prior. And this year, he's been good, but he still wasn't as good as the year he was before last year. The year before last year, he was in debates as the best defensive tackle in the league. He hadn't been in that debate for the last 2 years. Maybe last year a little bit. He was like a top 5 guy still. But I don't think he was in the debates with Dexter Lawrence last year, to be real. This year, it's just kind of hard to gauge how good a lot of these Jets players are with how bad they are this year, to be honest. So, I think that Cowboys move is a little bit more useful because you give up less for a player that arguably is better. And also in a position that may be more valuable. But I won't lie, the Colts didn't really need defensive tackle. They did. I guess you could say they needed a corner, but I think Ward had been pretty good too this year. Who also, you gave up 2 firsts who may not be the best corner on your team. But that's top for another day. But against the Falcons, Drake London was cooking him. So, don't really know what to say there. Drake London has had a pretty good year. Like, against the Patriots, he didn't have a great game against Gonzo, but he had that one catch on Gonzo, and he pretty much injured Gonzo, and that pretty much was the difference in the rest of the game because the Patriots couldn't stop them after that. They stopped them, but that was more so a Penix thing. I'm going to keep it a beat. But apparently Penix has a torn ACL, by the way, so that's a weird one. I'm going to have to say the Colts for the most part. This is another one of those that is tough to say they're not, but I would put them great for now. I don't think they're quite in the elite tier. I think that they've had some good games, but again, it kind of comes back to their offense. Their offense has given this defense a crazy margin for error every week. This is a team that last week against that Falcons team, that offense finally stopped being able to really move the ball consistently, and the Colts were pretty much down for most part that entire game. But the defense for the first time, not for the first time, that's a harsh one. I think about the second or third time where they had to be like the focal point of the game, and they was able to get the job done. So you got to give them the credit for that. But I do think the Colts is not quite on the level of those teams that are elite and best. I think that they could be getting there. A couple more games with Sauce. You know what I'm saying? Get that connection together. I want to see a little bit more, kind of like I want to see a little bit more with the Cowboys. That's all I'm going to say. I think that double cornerback connection, still got a great slot guy. The front seven been good all year. That's been the strength for a couple years now. I think the Colts are building something. But right now, if we talking about the overall season, they've always been knocking on the door of elite. I don't think I can go 1 week with Sauce and say elite, you know? So, yeah. Then we have the Saints. Saints are a team defensively that has been a little underrated. I'm kind of tripping on the Bears a little bit. I'm not going to lie. Every single time I see that, I'm looking at them in the same tier with some of these teams. The Commanders is a shaky one, but I honestly can understand it. I'm gonna say the Saints. They've been very, very. This is a team that's competitive, but they're not that good. So I would say both sides competitive, but not that good. I could see them getting some talent in this draft, and they take a jump next year because they're competitive. They were, especially early in the year, they were competitive in a lot of games against good teams. I said the same thing about the Panthers last year. The Panthers are surprising a lot of teams this year. Even this year, that's still kind of surprising me because even when I think the Panthers are going to be bad at a week, they're going to lose a game, they go out and win it. So, shout out to the Panthers. But I think the Saints could be maybe in 2 years, maybe not next year. Maybe next year they have the season that the Panthers had last year. And then, you know, but I don't know. The Saints, I think they still a couple pieces away. They don't really have a lot of talent, but they're competitive for some reason. I don't really get it. I guess you could say that's great coaching. I'm going to say mid. I'm going to say above the Dolphins. I'm going to say behind the Ravens because the Ravens have put together a couple stretch of games where the Ravens may be a little too low. But that first part of the season, they was giving up 40 every game if it wasn't the Browns. So that's still a little tough for me to put them too high. But if we talk about the last 5, Ravens are up there. Ravens are definitely up there. But I'm going to put the Saints in mid. That's my tier list. Like I said, I thought I already did this, but apparently I never did. So, yeah. Hopefully you guys do like the video. Subscribe. I'm going to keep giving y'all the NBA, NFL content. Keep coming back for more. Y'all want more? Do all that. Share the video to anybody think will help or enjoy. Make sure you got notifications on. All that good stuff out the way. Your boy Fitz. I'm out of here.
Tell them to bring me my money. Yeah!